Who designed this building icon? Coming up on Architecture CodeX.
Architecture CodeX. If you want to see more, like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe.
The few times I passed through Los Angeles Airport, I got a glimpse of the LAX theme building, and I knew I was in California. On TV in the 1960s and 70s, because LA was not particularly known for their skyline, whenever they wanted to establish the setting as Los Angeles, they showed the LAX theme building. And like a lot of people, I thought it was the control tower for the airport. It is not. The image was space age, modern, with graceful intersecting arches nesting a saucer-shaped room with ribbon windows. It was new, optimistically futuristic, and another building inspiring the art of the animated TV series The Jetsons. That seems to be the test of mid-century iconic futuristic architecture. Did it make it to The Jetsons? But as I was doing research on other videos, I saw the theme building appeared in the resume of a number of architects, and many articles unquestionably repeated this information. This included Pereira Luckman, Paul R. Williams, Welton Beckett, and D Wong. They say that success has many fathers, but failure is a bastard. So it's not surprising that so many architects claim to be the father of this design. But who really designed it? The call for a new modern airport was made by Mayor Norris Paulson and the Los Angeles City Council in the 1950s. Paulson was also responsible for bringing the Brooklyn Dodgers to LA. Just saying. And many of California's premier architects were invited to participate in the master planning and the expansion. They included the aforementioned William Pereira, Paul R. Williams, and Welton Beckett. They said they were getting ready for the jet age, but apparently they were getting ready for the space age. The building attracts the eye because of the sweeping intersecting arches that loop over the disc that was the restaurant. I am not sure how essential those arches are structurally, but it appears they at least stabilize the central ring, whose weight would otherwise cantilever over the central drum. In addition to the elegant structural expression, the form was unabashedly referred to as a saucer, capturing the popular imagination at the time. So I don't think it is a stretch to say the futureness of the design might have been influenced by the 1956 movie Earth vs. Flying Saucers, with production design and special effects by Hollywood legend Ray Harryhausen. Based on reports of UFO sightings, flying saucers, as they were called, were the dominant image of space travel before humans had ever launched a satellite that could orbit the Earth, the USSR's Sputnik, in 1957. Back to the architects. Paul R. Williams was a locally heralded architect doing many of the homes to the stars. We covered his La Concha Motel in Architecture Codex video number 86. Welton Beckett designed the Capitol Records building, among other Los Angeles buildings. But it appears that Pereira and Luckman was the lead firm. We looked at William Pereira's Transamerica Tower in Architecture Codex number 72. And Charles Luckman, Pereira's partner, only during the 1950s, was a developer as much as an architect, designing Boston's Prudential Tower and Madison Square Garden. I have found no record of any interaction among these men. So if someone out there knows the full story about the design of this building, please share it in the comments below. But it appears to me that the naming of Williams and Beckett had a lot more to do with honoring LA's greatest architects rather than letting them design anything. Neither Williams nor Beckett declined to be associated with the airport project, especially the theme building, but I cannot say in what way any of them contributed to the design. Pereira and Luckman was an architecture firm of about 300 architects, with commissions around the country and clients that included NASA, Hilton Hotels, TV studios, and the military. Most people mistakenly think in a big firm, everyone works on all the projects, but such firms are usually broken down into studios, smaller groups that could range from 2 to 10 people or more. These studios concentrate on a particular project. Often they report to an officer in the firm, such as a director of design, and those upper echelon people might report to a named partner. Collaboration is very tricky in architecture. Usually the best designs come from a single vision, but bigger, complex commissions require much greater involvement from many people. When it comes to the named partners, their roles can vary. Some might be very involved, some might just do a napkin sketch and have the studios develop it, and others may be the rainmakers, doing almost no design, but they take on the social side of the firm. They play golf and have lunch and bring in the big commissions. The first design coming out of the collaboration was a grand scheme for a glass dome to cover all the space in between all the terminals. Again, I could not find any development drawings, nor do I know the evolution of this design and who participated. It is a single grand image hinting at the magnificence of the scheme. But that was too expensive, and so while the more perfunctory design of the terminals was taking place, a studio inside Pereira Luckman was given the task of designing the theme building for the airport redesign. The person in charge of that studio was D Wong. Wong was born in Taishan, Guangdong, China, and arrived in America as a young boy. He went to college and served in the military during World War II. As a navigator in the Air Corps, a platoon member whose father was an architect noticed Wong's drawing ability and his math skill and suggested architecture might be a good profession. After the war, he graduated from USC with a degree in architecture. One of his professors was William Pereira, and so he landed at Pereira and Luckman in 1950. He stayed with Pereira when the firm split in 1958, eventually becoming president of that firm. In 1974, he started his own architecture firm. Wong is also known for his design of the Union 76 gas station in Little Santa Monica. Wong's studio inside Pereira Luckman came up with the design that is the LAX theme building we know today. But what I cannot find is that napkin sketch, that essential idea that someone drew and turned into a design. Was it Wong? Was it Pereira? Was it some unknown person inside of Wong's studio? Was it Williams? Was it Housen? I can't say, but maybe I shouldn't worry about that. Maybe as a design collective, it is not important who had the first idea. Harry Truman and Ronald Reagan said something very similar once. They said, essentially, it's amazing how much good you can get done if you're not worried about who gets the credit. So maybe we don't need to know whose idea it was. We only need to know how graceful, simple, and beautiful it was. Jin Wong himself said, I happen to believe in simplicity. Certain things call for certain materials. We stick to that and do not add any more to it. I don't believe in embellishment. The building was completed in 1961 for $2.2 million. One budget compromise is that the arches, which were intended to be aluminum, were rendered instead in stucco. And while the restaurant and the observation deck were popular, some people were disappointed that it did not revolve. Interest waned over time, particularly when airport security changed. Since the LAX theme building is outside of a secured area, passengers were not inclined to lounge for long periods of time in their restaurant when they still had to face passing through security. In 1993, it was designated a landmark building. In 1997, Disney Imagineers spent $4 million to renovate the restaurant, adding to the space age theme and calling it Encounter. After 9/11, the observation deck was closed, but eventually reopened in 2010 and is occasionally open on weekends. In 2007, a portion of the stucco arches fell, and over $12 million was spent keeping the building functioning. The restaurant closed in 2013. The building was repurposed in 2018 with the Bob Hope USO on the ground level below the saucer. Even so, the theme building faces an uncertain future. Like Saarinen TWA terminal in JFK did, until it was changed into a hotel lobby, as we saw in Architecture Codex video number 1. It is sobering how quickly buildings built with an eye towards the future have become obsolete, and yet these buildings are beloved. There has to be a way to transform these buildings to make them economically profitable. We have seen all sorts of mansions, castles, train stations, lighthouses, churches, and other building types turned into restaurants, which make the building accessible and economically viable. Why can't an old restaurant be turned into a restaurant? I'm Michael Molinelli, and this is Architecture Codex.